What is going on, everyone, and welcome to another quick tip mini guide. So for all of you new players out there wondering how do you level fast, or how do you start pumping up your family fame so you can get that extra item drop rate and the extra central market tax reduction, honestly the best way is getting your family fame past 6,000. And the best way to do that is getting characters from level 56 to 60, which isn't too bad. So what I decided to do was make a little list of buffs that you can get that boost XP. So we'll go over it, and I made it. So hold on, let me add this right here. Okay, so let's talk about some of these buffs, how to get them, and why some of them are optional. So first of all, when I say optional, I mean these are something that are limited and you can't just go out and get every day, or some might be like Pearl Shop locked, or you just can't get it on the regular. So yeah, let's start off with the regular ones that I use. And there might be some that I missed, and if I missed it, there's probably a chance I don't actually use it myself, so feel free to leave it in the comments. Now, we're going off of regular schedule, not like, you remember how we had that 1000% XP event for the, was it anniversary or just some sort of special event? But I'm not going off of that. We're just going off like your regular schedule. So if you're a new player playing like 2 months from now when there's no events happening or whatnot, this will still be relevant. Okay, so first of all, the combat book and the scroll. First, hold on, let me move this over so you can see my inventory. Okay, so combat scroll or book, what are we talking about? It is this thingy, and I say this is regular because they kind of give you a lot of them, and some days they just give you a 7-day, 20, or 1 day. But where do you get it? One, you could get it from the Pearl Shop. I guess this would be considered optional because I don't even use it as much as I do. But either way, the numbers and totals will be the same if you are min-maxing. But if you are looking to buy one, you can buy it on the Pearl Shop under the functional. It's kind of hard to get it, but if you want it, you could buy it. I'm just throwing it out there. So we'll talk about the yellow daily XP 600. So every day you get a 200% scroll. And you could use the 200, or you can combine 3 of them to make the 600. And so generally, if you are limited on time, then use the 600 at a good spot, and if not, just use the 200. Ultimately, things will even out over time, whether you use the blue one or a yellow, but we're talking about how much can you get in like 1 hour of grind. So we'll just say 600. Just combine 3 of these. You get them daily. Combine 3 of them. Get the yellow. Easy. The Bless Scroll is the 200% buff. They kind of give these out a lot. And even if you're off season and there's no Pearl Shop sales, they just kind of give them pretty regularly from season. Season, daily rewards, and whatnot. So you can get those there. The 300% scroll, you can get these on season as well. I remember having a lot of them, so I guess these might be a regular item, and whether you're playing on season or not, then play the season, you'll get them. I don't think you even have to spend any money. Next thing we have is the 400% Lightstone combo. So it's this thing right here. I personally use it for myself. And you have 4 wind stones of alert, which are combat. So the bonus gives 300, plus the light stones give 25% times 4, so 300 plus 100, another 400. It's actually a lot. That's what I use to push 64 on my main. And I did notice a difference, believe it or not. All of this is additive, so it's like not multiplying. So all these numbers, you just straight up add them to your total, and then it's good. So this one's a very strong one if you are just grinding casually. I did do some tests on it on like mid AP and high AP, And does this matter, like the extra monster damage versus just using your main like PvP light stones of just more damage? And the answer is it's not really much of a difference. You feel the same for the most part. Next thing we have, this is something you can buy on the market regularly. You get your cron meal, and they kind of give them a lot out as like login rewards and stuff pretty regularly. But regardless, they're like 300, 400k, at least on NA. So they're not expensive at all. I actually use this more to grind nowadays than the other ones. So which one is... A while ago, I used to use Exquisite a lot more just because it seemed like it had more damage, which I think it does have more damage slightly if you know how to do other like special attacks, which are like back attacks and whatnot. But I think for grinding lower end, the simple cron meals are just straight up better. Plus the monster damage probably like equalizes it or makes it slightly better. And hold on one second as I swap my... I don't know why I'm processing this. I just need something to do while I'm talking about this video. Anyway, then we have the Beast Draft. It is this thing right here. Now, it is good. I think this is the budget option to Frenzies. And, well, you don't get XP for Frenzies, but it really depends on where you grind. So, like, you know how it gives 15 AP to monsters, which is pretty good. This one gives 30. So, if you're grinding a high-end spot, chances are you're probably just using a Frenzy. And this one is, I guess, more for lower XP. But if you're trying to min-max XP grind, then you're probably going to be using the Beast one. And I think that's valid. Also, these are kind of expensive, so just keep that in mind. Next we have the Kydex helmet crystals. Now, I don't really use these on my main because my main has like actual expensive crystals, but if I'm like grinding on a season and they give it to you for free, and they do give it to you for free, so everyone could have them permanently if you wanted to. It's these things, the Kydex crystals. You get them from season. I think you can actually just make them throughout various things. So they give 10% each. So assuming you're using 2 of them in your helmet, that's an extra 20%. Pretty nice. Once again, I don't use it on my main. I use it on season, whatnot. Then we have the tent buff. Everyone knows what a tent buff is. If you don't, how do you get it? If you're a new player and don't have... Okay, so this is one... People say tent buff. This is the camping tool. It is the, like, quote-unquote pay-to-win option where you could just use it anywhere. However, if you don't have a tent buff, what you could do is there's like an old moon thing that costs silver. I think it's a valid thing to do now because silver is so easy to get. So like just go to an old moon manager. They sell basically the equivalent of a tent, but it's like a limited instead of a permanent compared to the pearl shop. But if you are extra cheap and don't want to do that either, the old school route of getting a villa buff is these things right here. Like you see these icons on the map all over everywhere. So you go to a villa and then an NPC will sell you a scroll for 10 million silver. Or I don't know if it's a 10 million bar or 10 million silver, or did they just streamline it and make it the same thing. But anyway, it gives you a 7-day scroll that allows you to buy villa buffs, which is the equivalent of a tent buff, which is the same thing. You just, one, you have to go into Valencia to get it. One, you just get it literally anywhere with a camping tool or the old moon one. So, honest recommendation, if you are free to play, just get the old moon thing. It's what, like maybe 50 mil a week or something. You'll make that back super easy. And then you could just, the convenience of it is very nice. So just trust me on that one. If you don't want to pay like $50 or get it on sale, choose the old moon. Trust, you'll make the money back. Church buff is the one you get in town. So I guess in Heidel, for example, it's somewhere around here. Like you go up and then there should be a church somewhere. Yeah, church NPC, 3 million silver each, 15%, pretty good. Next one is the Black Spirit buff. You talk to the Black Spirit and You go to exchange, and then you either get the 30-minute or 60-minute one. It's the same thing in terms of value, just one you don't have to press twice. And yeah, so extra 20 from there for 100 energy. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, depending on, like, technically in terms of value, if you are a life skiller, 100 energy in terms of silver is worth a lot more. But if you're just grinding and don't care, just use it. It's not a big deal. So I guess most of those are what I would consider like things you can get really easily, or stuff that like you can just buy off the market. Let's go into the optional buffs now, because these are stuff that, once again, I said in the beginning, are not common, and if you use it up, you're gonna have to wait until they sell it again, or sometimes you just might not have it. So like seasonal exclusives or yearly exclusives with the 530s. So every year Pearl Abyss likes to renew. They give you 53 530 XP scrolls. Now these are very limited and should only be used at, like, you know, if you're trying to push a high level character. I would not recommend using it on season. So if you're pushing like 62 and up, that's when I would use it. And especially only at good XP areas, not like some garbage spot that doesn't give you anything. So yeah, use these very sparingly and just be like, I am going to grind this area for a long time, and this gives a lot of XP. So yeah, it's one of those things. Don't use it freely. Just make sure you know what you're doing with these 530 scrolls. They're very important. Now the next one is the Spirit Stone that you get. Now this one is limited because you only really get these on the season servers by doing the season pass and just leveling up your character. And these aren't rechargeable. So once you use it, it's done. And I believe you only get like one per season. So one of those XP things that you use, you have to kind of know when you want to use it. Don't just leave it on a dummy, and it's not really worth it. Next one is the bell. These are literally only on the cash shop, or you get them from events. There's no buying it off the central market. You get them from like seasonal events, or you pay pearls with it. So that's why it's very optional. A lot of people do buy it, so you don't have to. Just find a channel that has a bell going on, and yeah, it's an extra 100%. It's pretty nice. Now we have the nighttime buff, which is 50%. At least I think it's 50%. And yeah, that's good. Grinding at night makes things a little harder, but it also gives more XP and drop rate, which is good. But I don't know. Once again, I'd say 99% of spots is okay to grind at night. There are some that are kind of sketch, but those are like the 1% high-end spots where you just rather not do that. So chances are you're fine grinding at night. Now this one is a weekend buff, and like from Friday to Sunday, it's on for the like 24 hours for those days, and it's just like 100%, I believe, or 200. I don't know. I think it's 100% though. But yeah, weekend buff is just extra XP. Now the costume buff is one you can get from literally any pearl shop. At least on NA, it's easy to get a costume, and or like literally just buy it off the pearl shop yourself. But yeah, they've been giving a lot of them. So one thing you could do is, if you're a new player, they do one exclusive thing where you could find it on the pearl shop, and you could buy a loyalty one, premium and classic, but it's a one-time thing for lots of loyalty. So you could get a costume, but if you're a new player, it might take a while. So I understand for like players like you and me, for most of us, being able to just get a costume isn't too bad. But it also depends on the server, and if you're a new player, because I understand 1 billion silver as a new player is a lot of silver. So yeah, that's why we put it on the optionals. But if you're playing on seasonal, get the season pass, you're good to go. And then there is a guild buff, which is right here. This gives 20% for 1 hour. Now there is this thing right here. These are the like tier 2 guild buffs, but I would say I wouldn't recommend these unless your guild has it, because it's very hard to make these, and to use like the new materials plus making the guild drill, it takes so much time. I don't think anyone really wants to do it. So chances are you're just, if you get your guild drops buffs, it's going to be the regular ones. So we're just going to count 20% off that one. So these are the totals that I used. I feel like I might be missing a buff. Oh yeah, I guess this one. But this one is from level 50 or 15 to 59 only, so I'm not going to count this one because it's very exclusive to like newer players and new characters. So yeah, those are the totals. Honestly, this is what you would look like if you are min-maxed in terms of you want buffs. But realistically, what I use when I'm grinding is probably, I just use like the 200. I'll use my daily 200. If I have a book running, then I'll use that. But chances are most of the time, like, I'm too lazy to remember, and plus I don't actually grind as much, so it'd be a waste. But I do use simple cron meals. I do use the beast draft pretty regularly. I do use tent, black spirit buffs. So on average, I would say I'm getting at least 1,000%. I do have an old moon buff running most of the time. And sometimes when I grind is a guild buff. Like, I could pop them. I'm an officer in my guild, but usually I'm just too lazy or forget half the time. So realistically, I would say I use, yeah, let's just go down the list again. Every time I grind, I will use the XP stones, cron meal, beast draft, tent buff, black spirit buff, costume XP, old moon, I guess, is going on for me, and that's really it. So if you're min-maxing, you can get all of those, but if you aren't and you're realistic grinding, then I would say cut that number down to like 1,000%, maybe a little bit more. But one thing you could do for a very cheap option was definitely the lightstone combo that gives 400%, and I think these are what, like, oh, let me actually look. This is on NA at least. Look at the wind ones. Okay, so like 8 million silver. Let's round it up to 10 million just to be safe. So worst comes to worst, you're paying 40 million silver for that permanent thing. I think it's worth it, but hopefully you got an idea of what kind of buffs you can stack and all the extra bonuses. Now keep in mind, I know there was a thing where I think I read this somewhere, where remember there was 1,000% buff going on like for an event, and after like X amount, like 3,000 something 600%, if you're on some sort of like different thing, it would just overcap and overflow the XP. Don't worry about it. That was a very limited thing with the boosted buffs, but for the most part you'll be fine. And yeah, that's what realistic versus min-maxing all the XP buffs get you. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.